The world has and actually is still reeling from the effects of the coronavirus-induced lockdown. Although Africa has literally the lowest figures on a continental level in terms of fatalities, but the economic loss is more impactful and has slowed the momentum of development strides across the continent. Nigeria's response has been praised, but inflationary figures, the rise in unemployment, and a lack of infrastructure, coupled with other factors, have made growth challenging for the country. But despite this, many believe in the potential of Africa's largest economy. An upcoming event hopes to look into the sectors of Nigeria's economy that are making waves and thriving to help improve things in these unprecedented times. Today, we're looking at Nigeria's hope horizon. Can the country get back on the growth trajectory after COVID-19? And after that conversation, we'll also look at the inflation numbers coming out of Nigeria. I'm Tolulokwe Adileru Balogun. Welcome. This is Business Edge. Joining me is Camelia Oro. She's the Managing Director, CT Productions. Now, CT Productions is the agency managing the Economist magazine in Nigeria. Camelia, thank you so much for joining me on Business Edge.
Thank you so much, Tolu. It's really a pleasure being with you today. We're very excited about next week. 1 week from now, we have a great event, a virtual event entitled Nigeria's Hope Horizon, getting back on the growth trajectory. And you said it very well before. It's very interesting to see how Nigeria is focusing and is really thriving and pushing through a very, very difficult situation worldwide.
Yes, very true. So let's look at the focus for the webinar that will be on certain areas. So you're looking at innovation, finance, telecoms, energy, oil, gas, technology, and so many others. But what made these particular sectors the standout ones for this upcoming event?
Well, the sectors were chosen really because this is where Nigeria needs to move forward. That's quite straightforward because we have the data and we have our collaborators, on the field, and our researchers that offered us a lot of information that will be shared with you during the webinar. So definitely these are the sectors to look out for. We are very excited to have discussion with the leaders of those particular sectors.
So in terms of the Nigerian forecast, you've mentioned having data that's also there talking about what to expect. What does the data tell us about the importance of these sectors to Nigeria's economic growth?
Well, I will just share a few things with you. If you remember last year, we have actually conducted a research with the Economist Intelligence Unit, the analysis division of the Economist Group, that brought a lot of information with regards to the Nigerian fintech sector, and that was published actually on the 24th of November during one of our webinars. There are data there that can be found online, and you saw that really the sector thriving, during this period. I think that Nigeria can give a lesson to the Western world and really show how fintech can thrive. There are so many businesses that are really, at this point, everything is online in Nigeria. Everybody has a phone. Everybody is able to make a payment from wherever they are, and that's a very good example. So besides discussing with the government, in sharing the data, we are also in a very interesting position of discussing with the private sector. We're going to share more next week about that. So besides the Economist Intelligence Unit, we have one of our partners, the Circular Economy Innovation Partnership, that is here in Nigeria, and they are our newest collaborators. So I think Nigeria has the right researchers and research information. We just need to be able to tap into them and really then make and do the deed, as we say, just do the thing, push through.
Yeah, just get the work done. So for many people, Nigeria, as the most populous country on the continent, the largest economy as well, that in and of itself should make the country very attractive. But just having a large population oftentimes is not enough if that population is not able to purchase and doesn't have higher purchasing power. But we also have to note that Nigeria does come with its fair share of challenges. What makes Nigeria such an important part of Africa's success story?
Well, somebody was saying that these challenges that they are noted for the past 1.5 years through COVID is just a normal day at work for Nigeria. I think you had so many challenges before COVID, and the fact that really you make it through day after day, this is the resilience of the Nigerian population, the entrepreneurship, really the pushing through. That's the model of Nigeria. This is what Nigeria represents. Is really a model for the whole of Africa and really for the whole world at this point. And this is why at this point, with all the difficulties, Nigeria is thriving actually at this point. There are so many unicorns, rising right now from Nigeria, and we know about that. So I think with resilience and with hope for a better day, and with taking the model and the way Nigerians are, this should be a model for the world.
It's interesting you mentioned a model for the world, because we know that the world has been struggling in the past 1 year to find a new way forward. Many have talked about the new normal. And in the aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic, the world has changed as we know it. So this webinar's theme is Nigeria's Hope Horizon. And while we're seeing technology and youth entrepreneurship as well, those are taking shape in Nigeria and across the continent. You mentioned that as well. What do you think the future is for Nigeria's economy beyond the pandemic, after the pandemic, after maybe things have returned to as much normalcy as we can see?
Well, it's very important, we believe, as everywhere else, to note the collaboration between the government and the private sector. I think nothing can happen without the right legal frame, and this is something that still needs to be to improve. The private sector is there to really put the dreams, in practice, but together with the government, they can really achieve much more than they have up to now. So that's the Nigeria's Hope Horizon, of really having even a better collaboration and pushing through better times post-COVID.
Okay. So as you highlighted the sectors, we've spoken about the sectors that are really coming to the forefront, that are thriving and making waves for Nigeria. In terms of the webinar, who are those who are going to be parts of the conversation? What do you think they're bringing? What information, what analysis, what data are they going to bring to the table in terms of Nigeria's Hope Horizon, putting the country back on a growth trajectory?
Well, I think we've chosen very carefully. We are extremely cautious on who should be with us in a conversation. So from this point of view, we have actually invited the public sector, for instance, the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, with the new president, Mrs. Toki Magbogunje, which she is really extremely supportive to everything that is done here. Then from the public side also, it was very important to have Dr. Abayomi, the Commissioner of Health, because he really pushed through in a very, very difficult time that COVID represents for Lagos and Nigeria. And of course, with the Ministry of Finance, we are discussing, and the Manufacturing Association. So that's all for the public side, together with the Institute, the Energy Institute. However, the private side, it's very important as well, because they are the ones that can create a lot of jobs and opportunities. MasterCard is at the forefront, definitely. They have supported so many startups, and more of this will be discussed actually in the webinar. Then we have Farm Forte. Farm Forte is really a local company that has over 1,000 hectares of land that they are producing and feeding a nation. So that's a great example. Then we have Braid as well, Braid Africa on the oil and gas sector. So I think we tried to really discuss with the main drivers of the Nigerian economy, making sure that there is a relation between the public and private sector in order for Nigeria to thrive.
All right, Camelia Oros, thank you so much for joining me from CT Productions. The webinar is taking place next week. So just before we wrap up, how can people take part in that if they really want to find out how Nigeria can get back on that growth trajectory?
Well, first of all, I think that you're going to share some information also on your website. Other than that, they should access the www.africaeventsct.com, and they're going to find the link over there. Also, we have few technology partners that we need to know, the SkySat Technology, where our office is at Sakatinugu booth 35, and OB Meet is a platform that will organize the event for us. So it's quite a great moment. You can find more information at City Productions on all our social media handles, besides, of course, your handles, and we are looking forward to seeing you at June 23rd, 9:50 a.m. Lagos time.
All right, Camilla, thank you so much. You are, of course, watching Business Edge. When we come back, the focus on Nigeria continues today. We took a look at the numbers coming out of Nigeria for the May. Business Edge, stay with us. The National Bureau of Statistics says that the annual inflation rate in Nigeria has dropped to 17.93% in May from 18.12% in April. This is the second month in a row where there has been a decline after it reached 18.72% in March. Inflation in Africa's largest crude oil exporter has been in the double digits for months as the coronavirus pandemic, insecurity, and the closure of land borders to curb smuggling disrupted sectors such as farming, industrial production, and transportation. The NBS said in spite of the drop in inflation in May, the food index was up 22.28% in the month compared to 22.72% in April, caused by increases in the price of bread, cereals, milk, cheese, eggs, fish, soft drinks, coffee, tea and cocoa, fruits, meat, oils and fats, as well as vegetables. When inflation eased slightly for the second straight month to 17.9% in May, it remains at near four-year highs, with food price growth at more than 20% year on year. The World Bank sees inflation at an average of 16.5% this year and remaining above the 9% top of the target band until at least 2023. Now joining me is Abdulateef Ahmed, News Central's researcher. Abdulateef, let's look at these numbers. While there is a decline from April and May, is there something in particular that we can connect to the decline we're seeing in the inflation figures?
Well, what we can see clearly is the fact that there is less consumption and there's less imports, and it has affected the buying power of the average Nigerian. However, if you consider the fact that it's an all-time high, it was an all-time high figure in March. Between that time and now, the drop is not significant, in the lives of average Nigerians.
All right. So, in terms of what this means for Nigerians, what does this translate to? What do the numbers mean when I take my naira and kobo, if I'm still using kobo, to the market? For Nigerians who take theirs to the market, to take theirs to the supermarkets, what are we seeing?
That essentially, if you have, we do not have improvement in the number of jobs, increase in jobs. We do not have better production. We do not have a better purchasing power, and therefore, it's for the average Nigerian, everything is still the same. Because if you consider the fact that most of the farming communities in the country are still unable to farm because of cases of insecurity across the country, so on the long run, it has a far-reaching impact on inflation and the purchasing capacity of the average Nigerian.
So we know that according to research, Nigerians already spend more than half of their household income on food. And with food prices remaining this high, how difficult do you think things are likely to be? Are we going to see more people possibly slip into poverty? As you said, the numbers for the employment are just not encouraging at this point. So households might be living on one person's income, how small or how little or how big it may be. Are we also looking at food insecurity for more households across Nigeria?
Yes, there's genuine fear that food insecurity will affect a lot of Nigerians. The World Food Program already mentioned that some time ago. However, more Nigerians will rather spend less, cut their coats according to their sizes, and then see how they can adjust to this inflationary regime, because there's no hope that there will be funding or there will be support from anywhere, in spite of how much the government seems to be injecting in the system. the average Nigerian would rather work with, within his means than expect injection of funds into the system.
And it's interesting you talk about injection of funds. When we have the conversation around the intervention programs from the CBN, they also include cash transfers, they include the Anchor Borrowers Program, they include funds to small and medium scale businesses in Nigeria. But obviously out of these 37, a lot, or maybe enough, let's say that, enough is really not being done. So what does Nigeria really need to do to tackle inflation, particularly the food figures, as it's making it difficult for Nigerians to feed themselves?
Yeah, so there is need for Nigeria to look in futuristic terms, to look at the fact that each region should have bans, should have be able to conserve agricultural produces and ensure that those bans are able to stand in for Nigerians when food prices go up, because with such there will be some level of food security, considering the fact that Nigerians would rather import instead of go to their farms due to insecurity. So the import causes a lot of economic stress for the system. So we would rather have a system where there's injection of funds into the system. We should have food security programs. We should have national grid for irrigation for farms, and all of that for our farmers, so that there's ease of doing farming. And of course, we should move from subsistence agriculture to more advanced techniques of agriculture. Particularly, again, dairy, livestock production is key to our food security in the country.
All right, finally, so we've seen this decline over the past 2 months. Again, in April, it was 18.12% for the annual inflation. In May, 17.93%. Food inflation is staying around the figures where it is. But do you think this trend is going to continue, however marginally small it is? Are you anticipating a decline when we're seeing the June figures also come in with food inflation staying as high as it is?
Yes, there's a chance that there'll be further decline. Considering how Nigerians are adjusting to some of these problems. The hope is that considering what we have been through all year, and we've gone half past, or we've gone at least half of the year, Nigerians will be ready for a long haul, and there's a chance that there will be a decline in a reduction in inflation.
All right, Abdulateef Ahmed, thank you as always for joining me, and we of course see you sometime soon.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we'll take a quick time out, and as we wrap things up, we'll be moving straight into NC4 To Watch. Just stay with me. And wrapping things up, let's give you a few stories we're keeping our eyes on. This is NC4 To Watch. We start in Kenya, where the country has appointed Citi and JP Morgan banks as joint book runners or underwriters for a dollar-denominated sovereign bond issue. Now, with I&M Bank as well as NCBA Group as co-managers, the bond is expected to have a 12 to 15-year tenure. Now, the Finance Ministry also first announced plans for the $1 billion euro bond in March 2021 and a separate €1 billion bond as well. Moving back to Nigeria, the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, says that the bank is willing to assist the Central Bank of the Gambia to print its legal tender. This was in response to a request by the CBG for a possible partnership to tackle acute currency shortages, among other currency management challenges in the country. Third on our list, Uganda will start a new tax system from July the 1st, which targets the digital economy. This new 12% government levy will be from internal data. Currently, there is a 200 shillings daily excise duty rate for over-the-top surfaces. Many tax experts say that this is less harsh than the new 12% substitute being charged for internet data, with the exception of medical and educational services. And finally, last on our list, French major Total has announced that it has awarded the $1.9 billion deal for the construction of its Lake Albert oil production Tilanga project in Uganda to a consortium led by British and Chinese firms. Other firms in the deal are Valurec Oil and Gas France, which was awarded the contract for one well procurement project, which also includes a casing, tubing, and associated services. There's also ZBEP Uganda, which was awarded one oil rig package that comprises onshore drilling rigs, tubular running, and fishing services. And NC4 To Watch brings us to the end of Business Edge. That's all we have for you today.